did I make the big switch? All right. Number one, I only want to have one. Are we good? I only want to have one resin in my drawer. Why? They're expensive and they expire, right? I don't want to have the complications of 2 or 3 different bonding resins. I used to have that. Today I've got just one. All the bonding resins out there work great on etched enamel, and remember, etched enamel is what we trust. But they all work on etched enamel. All of the dentin bonding agents before, they had uneven coating of the dentin. So we had the air thin cure up to 7 coats they recommended in the old days. If you look at the literature, that's too much, right? Under the microscope, if I agitate for a full 20 seconds over the dentin, I get the most beautiful even coats, even on secondary dentin, on amalgam tattoo dentin, on tertiary dentin, all this ugly, weird dentin, I get an even coat. And under the microscope before, it was uneven, so I had to do at least 2 or 3 coats over dentin. If you'll agitate for 20 seconds, air thin, your sensitivity will go to almost nothing if you quit exposing the pulp. We already talked about pulp capping, right? So that's number one thing I love about this. It's lightly filled. How many? What percentage filler is it, John? John F? What percentage filler is this stuff? 11?
About
10. 10. Okay. Lightly filled bonding agents hold up better. Why? They don't wear out. So I want a light filler in there, and it's got microparticles, not those big ones. Okay. But here's the number one reason why I switched from all the other resins I was using. This has silane coupler built in. Now the problem with silane coupler is it's expensive, it expires, and it's one more step that I don't trust. Here's the problem. When you look at silane coupler, if you have an etched, you want to bond in a veneer, or a porcelain onlay, or you have to do an endodontic access in your porcelain, those are 3 places we use a lot of silane. The problem with silane is the shelf life is short, it starts to lose stability because it's exposed to air, and when you take silane and coat the inside of an etched piece of porcelain, when you air thin it when you're done, it's supposed to look about the same as when it was etched. If you take a look under the microscope at most pieces of porcelain that have silane coupler on, it's like a leopard skin. You'll see globby areas that are smooth, etched areas, and when your silane coupler looks like that, I'm not happy. And because I got a microscope, I hated silane coupler because I saw how inconsistent it was. So guess what? I'm done with silane coupler. I'm so happy. So I threw it all away because this has silane coupler built in. For me, that was the killer. Move to this stuff. So it had, and the great thing about this is if you get etch on the dentin, which I get most of the time because I like to do a total etch, some of the self-etching resins have a very poor bond if you, I'm spitting on you, have a very poor bond if you splash etch on the dentin. So many of the self-etching resins say don't etch the dentin. How are you going to etch the enamel? So I don't want to worry about that. So I'm done worrying. It's fast, and it's actually, now they're going to cut this out. It's a little less expensive than some of the other resins. I don't know why. John wanted to mention that. So actually the cost is a little less. I don't know why the cost is a little bit less. So any questions on the stuff? I shouldn't call it stuff. Any questions on the new Scotchbond Universal bonding agent from 3M?
How frequently do you use it in conjunction with blue etch?
Blue etch, I always etch the enamel with blue etch, or what we call rinse etch.
Yeah.
So they say, well, why are you using a self-etching resin if you're doing total etch, David? Well, it's because this has a fabulous dentin bond, and in cases where I don't necessarily, let's say I've got no enamel, I've got a crown buildup, then I'm not going to etch it with blue etch. I'm just going to go straight to self-etch. After I blast
so really,
it down.
okay.
So I don't have to, if I use rinse etch, it's fine. If I don't use rinse etch, it's fine. Either way, I want to agitate it for 20 seconds to get a good permeation of the dentin tubules and to reduce sensitivity. We're creating a 0 post-op sensitivity practice.
So if we were in a class 2 and it was mostly a dentin floor, there's no need to, you would just put that directly on it, with no rinse etch.
Yeah, but if I've got enamel around here, I'm going to rinse etch that. Yeah.
Okay.
And if it splashes in the middle, who cares?
Yeah. One other question, if I can off this, if you're doing a small surface composite, we'll call it a shallow class 1. Do you ever use Flowable for that?
Absolutely, yeah. Or I marry it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about how I marry the Flowable in the paste. All right, there we go. State of the art in dentin bond.